What is up, Notre Dame fans? Mike Singer and Eric Hansen live on the Blue and Gold YouTube channel with this week's Notre Dame roundtable, Blue and Gold, whatever the heck you want to call it. We're going to be talking Notre Dame football for the next 45 minutes to an hour or so. Tyler Horka from Blue and Gold will be joining us in a little bit. Please hit the thumbs up on this video. Subscribe to the YouTube channel for more content. Subscribe to our second YouTube channel. It's in the description of this video with Eric Hansen and Tyler James. Make sure you tune into Football Never Sleeps tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Those guys will be talking more Notre Dame football and the CFP outlook. This show is brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors, and Academy is proudly honoring our brave military and first responders for everything they do to protect our nation and serve local communities. Their unmatched dedication and countless sacrifices deserve recognition. From October 19th through November 11th, Academy has given them a 10% off sports and outdoors purchases at local Academy stores and online at academy.com/discount. Exclusions apply. Eric, I am very excited about this show. To be completely honest, I'm not looking forward to talking about the Boston College game because it was just so ugly, but we have to reflect on it. But the end of the show, I'm really excited about. I did some homework today.
Oh, good.
And usually I just go off the dome and let it rip, but I am looking forward to Eric. How are you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing great. I am really excited about the first CFP rankings coming out, and the AP poll was about what I thought Notre Dame would be today. And so I'm ready to rock. November is such a fun month when your team is in contention for a playoff berth.
Yes, it is. And we will be live. Did we decide what time on Tuesday?
I don't think so, but I was going to follow your lead on that. We know that the ESPN show runs from 8 to 8:45, and as soon as Mike gives the official kickoff time, we'll know when we're
okay, well, let me ask the live chat. If it starts at 8, when do they post the actual rankings? Like, we think it's usually earlier in the show because they got so much pushback probably when they would start it at 8 and then announce it at 8:59. So if you guys know, remember what it was last year, let me know, because I have not watched one of those in probably 2 years because, one, it's not my job. I don't write that story. It's either Horka or Sol or somebody, and I'm usually live reacting to it, so I don't ever watch those. So I honestly don't know. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, Eric says we said it was 8 to 9, right?
8 to 8:45.
8 to 8:45.
Yeah, I have. In general, it's going to be a half-hour show. I think the early years it was an hour show, and people just whined that was just too much because they spent too much time with the buildup. I think in general they get to it quicker than they used to in the early years. I'm not sure that they will with this first one, with it being 45 minutes. I think they want to build in more suspense kind of stuff.
Yeah, so maybe 8:30. I think 8:30 is safe.
I think 8:30 is safe.
Yeah, either we're going to be live and reacting to it, or we'll be live and it just came out. So we're going to plan on 8:30. So yeah, locked and loaded. Eric was live with me last night. He's live with me now. He's got Football Never Sleeps tomorrow. Tyler James at 7. And then we'll react live on Tuesday. And then Wednesday, Eric, no rest for you. Still got to work.
I have my live chat on Wednesday.
Of course you do, from 12 to 3 Eastern. All right, Eric, thinking about Notre Dame 25, Boston College 10 today. Of course, we spoke for close to an hour last night about this game. But as you've been writing and thinking about this one more, what are your reflections on the Irish's ugly win, if it's okay to call it that?
Yeah, I think it's okay to call it that. I think, when I kind of got into writing my 5 thoughts column, and I had more than 5 thoughts, but I narrowed it down to 5. I felt better about this. If this is the mulligan, I think this is not as bad of a mulligan. I can understand where fans were disappointed and expected more of a team coming out of a bye week and fall break and going against maybe the worst team they're going to play the rest of the year. Syracuse is in the running for that. And why it wasn't more of a bloodletting instead of, some tense moments and a 1-score game for so long. But there were still some really good things in this game. And I think all the problems that Notre Dame had in the bowl, and I still feel like this is a team with a pretty high ceiling. The scariest part was the special teams. That's not readily, that's not, you're like, well, somebody's coming back from an injury and then it'll all get straightened out. It's not that simple. That's, I think, the most complicated part of it. But Notre Dame wakes up today number 12 in rushing defense, and I think that's amazing. And CJ Carr is number 4 in the country in pass efficiency. There's 3 dudes ahead of him in that. For a redshirt freshman to be that high in what is the ultimate measure of a quarterback in college football is amazing. So there were some really good things that happened amidst the ugliness.
Yeah. Real quick, Rip Jules says last year was first year of the CFP poll.
2014 was the first year.
Yeah, and even if you're talking about the show, they've been doing that for years, right? They've been doing
they've been doing it since 2014.
Even
last
the
year
live
was the
show?
First year. Yeah, it's been since
2014.
I've been covering those since 2014. And I usually get on, there's usually a teleconference with the committee chairman off the air afterwards for media. And I've been doing that since 2014. So I'm not sure what that's about. Maybe it was the 12
college
team
football playoffs. Yeah, but still, they've always done the poll and everything like that. MM Moore says we lead the country in interceptions, which when you think about all the hubbub about the defense, man, like what do you make of it? Because there is glass half empty. I'm not in that camp, but if you want to look at, oh man, like Tyler James pointed out last night, not saying he's glass half empty, but hey, the 21 play drive and them converting on those 3rd and 4th downs. And what do you make of the defense right now? And you have to factor in, this is a terrible Boston College team, but like, what do you make of them with the context of where this unit started and where it is now?
There were things that they have to clean up, but I think they're very fixable. There were things at the beginning of the year where you were like, can they fix this?
Yeah.
I felt like they had the talent to. I just wasn't sure, can they get there? And it's kind of a race against time to get to that point when you're playing really explosive offenses like Arkansas. And that's a funny thing. Like the Arkansas game is really going to help. I'm getting off on a tangent on Notre Dame's resume. When they start comparing Arkansas scoring 13 points against Notre Dame versus 35 against Ole Miss versus, 40 or whatever they had against Texas A&M, those little things matter when you're splitting hairs. But going back to it, the things that I look at are, is Notre Dame improving overall in defense? And yeah, Boston College is not a good offensive team. They are a much better offensive team when Grayson James is their quarterback. That's been clear in the games that he's played. One of the teams that Notre Dame will be compared to is Louisville. BC put 24 points up on them and was in a game, in a 4th quarter game with them just the week before. So, but they have a lot of things to clean up. A lot of it was self-imposed. It was penalties.
Yeah.
They were ready to get off the field and they'd have a 15-yard unsportsmanlike conduct penalty, or they'd have a push out of bounds, or they had the defensive, where the defenses, they claim that they're simulating movement that'll make people jump and have an illegal procedure penalty. That's new this year, and Notre Dame got called for one of those. Those things, I think, can be cleaned up. Yeah, the long drive against a team that's not a very good running team and them converting some of those, given what's coming up with Navy, and that's what Navy's going to try to do. I think that's a little bit concerning. But again, football's about punching and counter punching. Notre Dame's done a good job of evolving their defense over the year.
Yeah. Eric, I want to take a look at your AP top 25. You do have Notre Dame at number 8. Obviously the highest ranked 2-loss team. It's like, doing these polls or the ballot, it's got to be so difficult because it's like, how good is the team playing and your eye test versus the resume? You have Notre Dame at 8 and Miami down at 15. And I think we would all agree, you put Notre Dame and Miami on a neutral field right now, Notre Dame is playing better. They would probably win that football game.
Right.
But how do you I know this is something you've thought of.
Sure.
You have Notre Dame at 8 and Miami down at 15. How do you kind of explain that?
Yeah, and I love these kind of questions too. In the actual poll, Notre Dame is 10 and Miami is 18. So there's actually an even bigger difference
Yeah.
in the actual poll. You head to head does matter, especially if it's something recent and there's not data to change it. For example,
sounds like recent is the key word in that, but go ahead.
Recent is the key word. For example, USC had beaten Michigan, and I couldn't understand why Michigan was ahead of USC. Now, this week, USC is actually ahead of Michigan in the poll finally, because Michigan hadn't done anything to counteract an 18-point loss to USC.
Eric, I'm sorry, let me interrupt you. In case I didn't say this, what I have up on the screen right now is Eric's ballots. I'm going to pop up the actual poll in here in a second.
Okay. But when you're doing this, a lot of fans like to boil things down to one little thing, like head to head, or who's got the best win, or who's got the worst loss. And in the world of the College Football Playoff Selection Committee, and in my world as an AP voter, you have to look at the whole season. You don't look at just what happened this week. For example, early in the year, Georgia Tech got a big boost from beating Clemson by 3 points. LSU, same thing, beating Clemson by 7 points. Then everybody was beating Clemson, and that win got devalued over.
So do you kind of retroactively damage Georgia, or like, do you drop Georgia Tech more because Clemson, like, or do you just not move them up as much?
I didn't drop them, but I was leery of whether they could sustain what they were doing, especially looking at their statistical metrics. I thought they were ripe for losing. I didn't think NC State would be the team to beat them. I thought Pitt would be, and Pitt still could be, but I thought they were ripe. They just didn't profile like a team that's a top 10 team, but they deserved to be there because they were undefeated. But yeah, well, yeah, you do. You measure those. There was a point where Ohio State's win over Texas didn't look so good, and now it looks a lot better than it did a couple weeks ago, because Texas is a team that's going to be competing for Notre Dame for that final at-large spot. Let me just make this point real quick because I'm rambling, but if the AP poll today was what the CFP put out on Tuesday, exactly, if it was exactly the same, which it won't be,
right?
Notre Dame would be in the field. They would be the 10th seed. They would be the last at large in. ACC champ Virginia at 12, they would be the 11th seed. Memphis at 22 would be the groups of 6 at number 12. Notre Dame would be the last team in the field. So they would be competing in arguments with Oklahoma, Louisville, and Texas.
But Eric, it's a lock. If Notre Dame wins, I'm gonna dive into it more, and I'm really looking forward to that conversation. Bracketology is my favorite thing. I absolutely love it. Joe PM says it's like when FSU got left out at 13-0, we judge teams as they are today. That one, I mean, obviously, Eric, we weren't working together at that point, but did you think when FSU got left out as an undefeated team without Jordan Travis that they got snubbed, or did you like that call?
I didn't like the call. I wanted them to get in. And the reason why I thought they deserved to get in was because they won the ACC championship with their backup quarterback.
Who they beat that year? It wasn't a very good team.
It was Louisville.
Yeah.
They won the ACC championship, and their defense looked great in that game. You know, obviously when they got to the bowl game and they had all the opt-outs, I think including that backup quarterback, they got, I think, run by Georgia.
63-0, something like that in the Orange Bowl. I remember.
Right. But I thought did the rest of the team kind of deserve that? It was a difficult, if had I been making the decision, I would have put Florida State in the field.
Yeah.
because they won a game without their quarterback. They won a big game
Big
without their
game.
quarterback.
Was that the year Michigan won the title?
I believe so. I believe, yes, that's the year Michigan won the title.
Yeah. So then Michigan was the 1 seed and played
They
Bama.
played Alabama, I think.
So Bama would have been, or was that the 2-3 game? I can't remember.
I can look it up at some point, but
yeah,
they did play Alabama.
So-
I would think Alabama would have been the 4. So it
Yeah, I
would have
think
been
they
1
were.
versus 4.
Yeah. I want to say they lost to Georgia. I can't remember. I'm surprised I'm even semi-confident that I'm remembering these things. The other thing, Michael Lynch said Miami's losses are arguably worse. This is, don't shoot the messenger. I would have Miami above Notre Dame. But then you would have to put Miami above some teams that I might not. It's a very, or I might not like to. It's a very tricky thing.
Well, it is tricky, Mike, because then you have to put Louisville and SMU ahead of Miami, and then you have to put TCU or Baylor ahead of
in a vacuum,
SMU, and then you'd have to put Auburn ahead of Baylor. I mean, then you'd have to end up with a 1-win team at number 1.
It's a very, it's a very difficult thing. This is why I don't like the saying things are just so definitive and 100%. Like it's a very tricky process, and I give great respect to the rankings people and Eric, for guys like now the one kid who covers LSU I think is an abomination to the AP poll, and having Florida above USF, like there's some really, really bad ones, but it's a very tricky thing.
It was actually somebody from California that did that, I think.
That was Haley
LSU
Sawyer.
Do too?
Yeah, the LSU, I think his name's Cody or something.
Oh, okay.
I mean, there's a guy from Barstool who does a video like pretty much every week looking at his, and it's usually really, really bad. I think he's still got Ohio State as the number 3 team in the country, which, I mean, I guess you can make that argument, but like, I think Ohio State.
That's what the polls are about. Even the CFP poll, it's about. I mean, I can't remember. I mentioned this on the board, loose emoji board today on our message board. I can't remember one time that I've been a voter and I've seen all the ballots that 2 ballots have ever matched each other. There's 66 of us. You'd think at one point there would be 2 polls that were exactly the same. They never are. There's always different opinions.
Yeah. I'll send you the video that I see from next time from Barstool Tate on it. It's we'll see if the kid does good this upcoming week. At least it's very subjective. Who knows? Maybe he knows more than the rest.
Kyle Kelly pointed out the person from California that was in the press box for the USC game. I think he wanted me to scold them for their poor balloting.
Oh, Kyle, folks. The show is brought to you by Home Field Apparel. Excuse me. No one's doing game day better than Home Field, the exclusive apparel sponsor of this show. And this Notre Dame Fighting Irish blackout snapback hat, we need to get on Eric's head ASAP. I mean, this thing is sick. If you like blackout kind of hats, I mean, this is definitely the item for you. Home Field is the premium collegiate apparel brand based out of Indianapolis, and they've built their name by making the most comfortable, officially licensed, vintage-inspired college gear out there. We're talking hoodies, crew necks, tees, bomber jackets, hats, you name it. I've been rocking the Notre Dame collection for quite a while now. Love wearing my Home Field and having them as a sponsor for the past few years. It's in my rotation. I always say this, my life is wearing Home Field all the time as well. Go to homefieldapparel.com, check out their Notre Dame line, and they've got a massive lineup of other schools from across the country. So holiday season's right around the corner. Buy yourself some gear, buy your brother some gear, and then oops, you bought it in the wrong size. Now it's your gear. Loved ones. Just go to homefieldapparel.com. It is absolutely awesome. So check out your favorite design. Get ready to rep your Notre Dame gear and style with Home Field.
Do they have a onesie for your daughter?
I'm not sure. I don't think so.
And I appreciate Kyle. I hope that didn't come off that I was making fun of him, because I wasn't. Kyle is a good.
I'll make fun of Kyle. I'll make fun.
Okay,
of Kyle.
you can make fun of him. I love it.
I know this is dubbed the round table, and it's just the two of us, so I apologize. Clickbait's an overused term, but maybe I clickbaited you guys. Horka is supposed to be joining us, but here we are. I'm not complaining. I just get to talk with Eric.
He's
Hansen,
had the
so.
planes, trains, and automobiles road trip from hell this week.
He did at the beginning of his trip. Tyler was tweeting about it. At 32 with a 1-year-old, I can't hang with like what he is doing. I can't do that stuff anymore. Eric, I know you damn well can't. You don't like traveling to those road games, I'm sure. So.
Yeah, I'd logged a lot of miles over my time. I don't mind doing some of those remotely now.
Yeah.
Because
You
I've been to all those places,
right?
and I'll tell you, when travel runs smoothly, there's no problems. But when it doesn't, it takes a lot out of you.
Yeah. Were you in Atlanta for the title game?
I was. Yeah, I saw you there. In fact, we said hello there. We weren't working together yet.
Yeah, I feel like when I was doing my post-game show, you're one of the guys who had to get by me. If I would have known, I would have had you stop in and talk on the show like I had some other guys too. Okay, let's move along. Well, this is the part where I was going to talk to Tyler Horka, but he's not here. Best and worst from the Boston College game, Eric. I know we're going to shift back to that game real quick. Is there anything that like some people are very high on about the game or Notre Dame's, whether it's a position group, specific player that people are really praising, and maybe you're like, hey, we need to pump the brakes on, or the vice versa? Some things that you feel fine about that maybe other people are pushing the panic button on. Anything come to mind with that topic?
Maybe somebody wants me to pump the brakes on CJ Carr. I thought that was a positive, not just his production, but his poise. When I've seen those games go, I mean, kind of the Northern Illinois game was like that last year where it just, you were panicking, not that you were going to lose the game, but that you were going to blow them out. And then it turns into a loss. And CJ Carr had the poise during those very critical moments where he actually had to kind of put the team on his back and do more than manage that win. He had to help make things happen. And I thought that was super impressive.
Yeah.
Let
me jump. Can I jump in real quick?
Yeah.
I mean, no disrespect to Riley Leonard, but think about worst interceptions you've ever seen as a Notre Dame fan. His pick against NIU is in that discussion, right? Yeah. I mean, who did he throw that pass to? Was that have been Chris Mitchell?
I think it was a Chris Mitchell.
And I want to say Chris Mitchell was open.
I think he was, but it was pretty underthrown.
Poorly underthrown by like 15 yards.
Right. And people speculated, well, was he injured from the kind of sack that he had earlier in the half? Remember, they didn't run him in the second half at all.
No, he got banged up against A&M, if I'm remembering that correctly. And again, I'm not trying to dog Leonard here, but we saw him throw two long touchdowns, and then the one where you would have liked to see him connect and make it a third touchdown. At least he underthrow it by 15 yards. So Jay Love's 94-yard touchdown is obviously a difference maker from making that. And I was discussing this with the guy on Twitter. He was like, hey, this feels like NIU. The difference between those two games, well, three things. One, the Jay Love touchdown that really made that from a nervy game to a comfortable win, if you can call it that, right? Like 15 points, like Boston College wasn't going to score 26 points. Two, CJ Carr actually connecting on those balls downfield when BC was loading the box. And three, NIU led that game early.
Yeah.
Right? Notre Dame did not trail.
Right. Notre Dame did not trail. NIU also owned both of the lines of scrimmage in that game, which was harrowing for to watch, and thinking, what is this team going to turn into? If this is an offensive line, defensive line driven program, it's not showing up against a MAC school today.
Yeah. But on your other points, I actually want to jump in there on Carr.
Yeah. I do think that the panic button should be pushed a little bit on the kicking situation.
A little bit.
Well, Okay, a lot of it,
Yeah.
but Notre Dame needs to get a solution. I think they have a solution, and I don't think it's a smooth solution. And I mentioned this on the show last night. I think you need to invest a lot in Eric Schmidt and live with his growing pains. If this is the high school kicker you identified as the one you wanted out of everybody else, and you had to flip him out of another class to get him, then you and he has the power in his leg to do it, then you have to get him ready for those big moments.
Yeah.
You can't wait till he's a sophomore.
Yeah. That's got to be something that Biaggi knows what he has. Like, he's seen these guys kick a ton for several months. Like, that's one of those, like, the pressure moments, that's where things can get tricky. It's a lot different, but you would have, like, I feel like you can create pressure moments in practice. I remember we did in high school.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be like, hey, we're running after practice if you miss this kick and the whole team's watching you. But anyways, I feel like Biaggi probably knows what he has. So if Schmidt is good enough, just roll with him. And then if he's good, you have him for 3 more years.
Right. I mean, and if Burnett comes back and he's healthy at some point and he can prove that he's healthy and sustainably healthy, then you can flip-flop them at some point. But if you need a 54-yarder to beat Indiana in the quarterfinals of the playoff, you're running Eric Schmidt out there, whether he's kicked all year or not, because he's the only one on the roster that can make a 54-yarder. Wouldn't it be nice that he's used to those moments, that he's gotten some of that game type pressure against Navy, against Pittsburgh, against Stanford and Syracuse, going into the playoff in case you do need him?
Yeah. Anything that concerned you that no one's talking about? The answer can be no.
Well, I mean, yes, I think that they have answers on their roster. The 4th and short, turning the ball over on downs continues to be a problem. They were one of the best teams in the country, and I realize Riley Leonard was a big reason, was the cheat code there. But they were one of the best teams in the country on 4th and short last year. To be one of the worst, I mean, they're in the bottom 20, is a real fall off. And can one player mean that much difference in how you approach that? Because there are a lot of teams in college football that don't have Riley Leonard as their quarterback this year. In fact, there's 136 of them. And Notre Dame is worse than 112 of them on 4th down. Jeez. So I think that's a problem. The approach to 4th down, the approach to short yardage. Tyler and I talked a little bit last night about it. We might have done it on your show as well, about Jadarian Price fumbling inside the 5. I mean, that's 3 of those this year. Does Nolan James Jr., does he make more sense as a goal line type back? Because he can also catch Aeneas too. But I know that from the intel piece I did that Nolan James Jr., who's a little bit bigger than Aeneas, they both have a similar skill set. So I think you think about both of them in terms of, does that make more sense? And I know a lot of fans like to see, well, why not 2 backs? Why not this? I mean, I think Notre Dame needs to get to the bottom of those questions, because they're one of the worst red zone teams in the country. Some of those are missed field goals, but some of those are drives dying inside the 5.
Yeah. A commenter here, a quarterback who can run, who can run is a big advantage in short yardage. It's not just a quarterback who can run. It's a quarterback who can get a yard after contact, right?
Right.
If you're just, it's an advantage, but it's really an advantage when you're Riley Leonard and you can, or like, think about the Eagles. Like, it doesn't matter if you know exactly what the Philadelphia Eagles are going to do on 4th and short. You're not going to stop them, right? They're just so good at it. Now. The tush push, I think, should be banned, but that's a different discussion. Or maybe I don't actually think that, but I hate it. You just need you need that identity that you know what we're going to do, and we're going to do it to you anyway. Like Notre Dame just does not have that, and they're not anywhere close. It could be, Eric. It could be we're going to go 5 wide, and you're not going to stop us. We're going to throw the ball, or Carr is going to be able to spread. We're going to spread you out, and Carr is going to be able to pick up a yard. They just need something. I don't care if it's going out in 14 personnel or going 5 wide. They just need something. They right now they're just trying to like outthink it, it's just not working. So it definitely continues to be a problem.
The one thing I'll say about Carr as a runner, I know one of the emphasis during the offseason is going to be him becoming a better runner, maybe doing some speed work and so forth. But what you're talking about, when he has contact, it's not like he's not a tough kid, but he goes down pretty quickly sometimes when there's contact.
That's what I'm saying about Minchie. It's like, yeah, he's quick, but is he going to push forward? The Buckner thing is always kind of interesting to me. I know, is he that tough? All right, is he going to pick up the extra yard? You know, maybe
the guy that's probably most similar physically on the roster is Blake Ebert. And he thinks he is. I mean, he thinks he has that Riley Leonard skill set from a running standpoint. I mean, he's a bigger kid, and he's used to that. But again, do you trust him in that kind of situation? Do you really want to take CJ Carr off the field?
Yeah. Do you want to take Carr off the field? I just saw a comment, Justin ND Sniper. I'm not going to read all of it, but he just kind of switching gears. I think I like Dylan's running back philosophy more about, running back usage. I'm not going to pretend to know more about football and running back usage than Dylan McCulley's a tremendous coach. But here's what I will say. Jeremiah Love this year through 8 games has 141 carries. Last year, the entire season, he had 163. He was used the most against Virginia last season with 16 carries. This year, he's gone over 16 carries 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. Give Jeremiah Love the freaking football. So that's where I like what Sider has done this year, where it's like last year it'd be like, man, that's a lot of Aeneas Williams. It's the third quarter. We haven't seen J Love touch the ball since the first quarter. Which actually, Eric, if you want to chime in on that, this kind of leads into another topic here. And if you're just joining us, I know this says roundtable and it's just me and Hanson. I apologize as you're stuck with us. Horka is a no-show. Speaking of Horka, he tweeted this out. He put up Love stats, 141 carries, 894 yards at 6.3 yards per carry, 23 catches, 227 yards, 140 scrimmage yards per game, 14 total touchdowns. Horka says, name a better football player in all of college ball. I'll wait. Let you chime in, Eric.
I think he probably got some responses with some other names. I think Jeremiah Love is amazing. I think his stats don't do him justice because you have to kind of see him play and see how electric he is and the moments that he creates. I mean, in that game, Schuler gets that big interception at the 6-yard line, and the next play is a touchdown, and the whole game changes in that moment. And that's where Jeremiah Love shines. You think about the Indiana playoff game last year. Xavier Watts getting the interception and then the 98-yard touchdown run on the next play, completely changing the complexion of that game. So you have to see him to really appreciate him. If you just look at his stats, you might say, well, there's other guys that average more per carry or average more per game or do more kind of Heisman-y things as far as returning punts and returning kickoffs. But in terms of affecting a game, he's as good as there is. And you see that in the fact that he's tied for 3rd in scoring in the country too. I mean, he scores lots of touchdowns, and that's what the name of the game is getting in the end zone.
Wow. Orca just sent me a video of Jack going crazy watching the Bears game. So that's what they're doing. So Horkich said, I was never destined to make this show. Bo N.D. Johnson, I love this. He said, we're all here. That makes it a large round table. I completely agree. That's what we do, right? I go into the chat. I read every single comment on this Blue and Gold, whether it's a live show or if you're watching back and you leave comments. If it's just like a post press conference show, whatever, or not a show, just like a reaction video or whatever we put out, I read everything. So if I don't respond to you, that doesn't mean I didn't see it. Justin ND Sniper does say a lot of that was due to Leonard taking carries from him. That's true. He did have 184, but still, like, Aeneas, how many carries did Aeneas have last year?
I can look it up if you want me to.
I got it too, but or I can pull it up as well. But now my Notre Dame roster page is freezing. But still, I think the point remains that Love, like he's this just he snaps, like he's just getting a ton more work.
He averaged, I mean, Jeremiah
Aeneas
averaged
had
10
34
carries a game last year. 10 carries a game, which is too few. I mean, I grew up in the days where it was load all you can on these running backs. I saw Anthony Thompson in a game run 52 times once.
Yeah.
So okay.
Aeneas had 34 carries, 18 receptions, but I'd be interested in the snap count. Maybe, I mean, as well, just like, how much is he on the actual field as well? But yeah, and then in terms of like, is he the best player in college football? That's a bull. There's some really good players. I mean, Ohio State's got like 4 or 5 who you can make an argument about. I mean, the Indiana quarterback Mendoza's is really stinking good. Justice Haynes has been a pretty good back. He's out for the year, by the way.
Is he really?
Mm-hmm.
Raiola from Nebraska got hurt in that USC game, and he's out for the year.
Yeah. From Matt Zenit to CBS Sports, undergoing a surgery to repair a broken foot. But yeah, he's definitely in the conversation. And if they go to 5 for the Heisman, I think J Love should be in there. And I think just what's hurting him is not a marquee. Like, you're hitting the Heisman post after a 94-yard touchdown run against Boston College. Now, if you're doing that, late in the year, like later in the year against a ranked team at a big stage, everyone's watching your prime time, you got a better shot. But if it's 5 though, I think he might be there. But if it's if they invite 3 to New York for the Heisman, it's gonna be close. I could see him as a 3rd, but there's just so much to if Alabama loses again, or if Indiana falls, like there's different things that could happen where it helps Jeremiah, but there's a lot to play out there.
Here's Aeneas' snaps: 213 last year, 18 this year.
Wow.
So huge difference.
Huge difference. I wonder how he's feeling.
You may see those guys a little bit more in November, especially if the games are as lopsided as yesterday's was supposed to be. You may see more Aeneas Williams and Nolan James Jr., at least maybe in the second and third quarters, just giving those guys a little bit of a break so that they're fresh for December and January. But I do wonder how he's feeling about that. But
okay, question about, this is probably the worst spelling I've ever seen for his name, but he's got the brace on his arm, but he's clear to play, right? I mean, we've seen
absolutely. He never shows up on the unavailable list.
Did have some big plays in the Orange Bowl, of course, down the right sideline. Very memorable one. Okay, it is time to talk about BetMGM. The betting partner at our parent company On3 Sports. So it's time to lock in on those Saturday showdowns with BetMGM. Notre Dame Navy is one of the top games this upcoming weekend, believe it or not. It's a huge one, really. Like, it's one of the top games to watch in college football, not just as a Notre Dame fan, obviously. So whether you're betting on the underdog or riding with the favorite, take your excitement to the next level with a college football odds boost token. Log in to your BetMGM account to receive your token, then place a bet on any college football matchup with your activated token. If your boosted bet hits, you will score a bigger payout. Claim your odds boost token and be sure to activate it before placing your bet. The game's about to kick off, so feel the rush and own the moment. BetMGM, make it legendary. It's my favorite thing to do, and we did this a little bit earlier. The little CFP projections, bracketology, all that good stuff. So this is the bracketology from Andy Staples. Now, from what he wrote, this is projecting. This is not like what it is right now, unless I'm understanding this wrong. It's not, well, if the playoff was played today. No, this is what he is. You know what? That doesn't make any sense based on A&M and BYU, or Texas Tech and BYU, right? So this does have to be if the playoff was played today. I must be an idiot. Are you seeing that correctly too? Or is that what you would assume too, Eric? Sorry, Eric, I have you muted because I was reading the ad. Go ahead.
I'm assuming, I don't know.
It's got to
Miami
be
is the first team out, which seems strange to me. That bracket looks really weird to me with Texas Tech and BYU being 8 and 9. They're playing each other this week. If he's projecting out, I don't know. I'm a little confused at his projection.
Well,
but if you use the AP rankings, Notre Dame would play Ole Miss in the first round on the road.
So some of these can be tricky because you're like, are you projecting if it were played right now, or is this your guess as to how the rest of the season will play out? But I'm going to read what Andy wrote in this article about it. You know what? Let me just text him.
Okay.
I'm going to text Andy Staples right now. Hold on.
While you're texting him,
voice to text.
If
your bracketology where things stand right now, or is it what you think will happen on December, was it 2nd?
December 7th.
7th. Doing a show and want to clarify. Okay. Do you mind if I read what he wrote, Eric, real quick?
Go right ahead.
He says, Miami losing to SMU on Saturday was was the worst thing that could have happened to Notre Dame other than an actual Notre Dame loss. Why? Because unless Miami loses again, the Hurricanes have to stay above the Fighting Irish in any ranking. Notre Dame put itself behind the 8 ball by losing its season opener at Miami, then losing its home opener against A&M because the rest of Notre Dame's schedule isn't particularly challenging. These 2 losses are a huge drag. But as long as Texas A&M and Miami were clear college football playoff teams, then there was a path for a 10-2 Notre Dame to make the CFP. But with Miami losing for the second time in 3 weeks, the Hurricanes and Irish now have identical 6-2 records. Notre Dame's best win is USC. Miami's best win is against Notre Dame. The head-to-head has to matter in all. The head-to-head has to matter in all other things equal situation. Sorry, guys, I can't read. Otherwise, why bother playing the game? So I don't have Notre Dame in my projected CFP bracket because I don't have Miami in it either. If there was one spot remaining, it would go to Miami over Notre Dame, and that won't change unless Miami loses again. Staples just responded, it's where it stands now because a bunch of wild stuff could happen, and right now Notre Dame can't be above Miami. Thanks, sir. So it is where it stands now. Okay, that's
I disagree,
clear.
And so do 66 people in the AP poll.
And then he said
Notre Dame 8 spots ahead of Miami. When you have one loss, the head-to-head means more. When you start to get to 2 losses, you can't dispute what else happens on the resume. You can't just say, well, they locked in on that one win over Notre Dame. That trumps everything.
That's a good point.
You can't lock into it at that point. And then if Miami loses to Pittsburgh and Notre Dame beats Pittsburgh, then you have a triangle. Then one team beat one team beat the other, and then it changes even further. I respect Andy Staples, but I don't agree with locking into that. And so many people do. They want that head-to-head to be end all be all, and it should be important, but especially that early in the year when Notre Dame's not the same team and Miami's not the same team,
Yeah.
it loses something.
Now that 2-loss thing that you just talked about, is that how the committee sees it as well? Like the 2
I
losses
believe they do.
devalue the head-to-head.
They do value head-to-head, but I've seen enough of these shows, and it's to this point 11 years. This will be the 12th year of the college football playoff, where they explain, the announcers will be, well, wait a second, what about head-to-head? Well, it matters, but it's not the end all be all. And this goes back with Notre Dame fans. It'll go back to 93 with the Florida State loss. Notre Dame beat Florida State head to head, and then Notre Dame loses to a not awful Boston College team, but they lose to Boston College the next week. And then Florida State ends up winning the national championship. Well, does Notre Dame just stay as the number one team if they continue to lose games, or if they lose a game to an inferior team? There's arguments for both of that. That the game was recent enough that Notre Dame should have stayed number one. And if there was a 12-team playoff, it would have played out on the field anyways. But as it turned out, Florida State was the national champions, and Lou Holtz wasn't happy about that.
Folks, please hit the thumbs up on this video. Subscribe to the channel for more content if you have not done so yet. This is what I will say. So MM Moore says, so a team in Miami who has lost 2 of the last 3 recent games should be ranked ahead of Notre Dame, who's on a 6-game win streak. Let me just ask you this. And I'm very much, I see both sides of this. Let me ask you this, MM Moore. If you were a Miami fan, how pissed would you be if Notre Dame got in over you, same amount of losses, and you beat Notre Dame? Just answer the question. Because you would be, if the shoe was on the other foot, you would be pissed. Right? I mean, Eric,
if they play the same teams, this is what the problem is. Everybody kind of says, well, this team has 1 loss. This team has 2 losses. You're not playing the same schedules. I mean, somebody was on the board was asking me about San Diego State versus Pittsburgh. There's nothing in those 2 resumes that match up. You really have to go like 6 levels deep to have any kind of connection of why would San Diego State be in the top 25 ahead of Pitt or vice versa. It's very, very subjective, and it's very complicated. People like to have little rules where they could just say, here's the rule. If it's like this, here's the template, and I can figure it out. When it goes to somebody's subjectivity, that's where they don't like it, because they want their team to be ranked higher, and again, sometimes they're, a little bit impatient about, their team being ranked 1 spot below where they are in the actual poll.
Yeah.
They get all excited about that.
What if both Miami and Notre Dame end up 10-2?
I think Notre Dame has the better resume now. I'd have to look at what Miami says, but they're not going to make the ACC championship game.
Miami has no one really good left. I looked at their schedule earlier. I mean, they have Pitt. Miami does have Pitt,
right?
Which Notre Dame obviously has. I don't know. It is so tricky. It's very easy in the NFL. The only thing the NFL people have to make is just the tiebreaker rules. It's a very the subjective part of it it's very tricky. Like I think the head-to-head, I might be valuing it more than I am valuing it more than you, but it's true. I don't know. I don't want to get myself in trouble here.
But I mean, just look at Texas. Should Florida be ranked ahead of Texas? Florida beat Texas, and they beat them convincingly.
Yeah, but the amount of losses is
okay,
quite different
but
there.
Yeah, but again, these teams don't play the same schedules. They don't play the same veracity of schedule.
But you have to
Miami
use
has
something.
Syracuse, NC
something.
State, Virginia Tech, and Pittsburgh. Well, you will have comparative scores in Syracuse, NC State, and Pittsburgh. You can make some comparisons there. But okay, if you're going to put Miami ahead of Notre Dame, don't you have to put Louisville ahead of both of them? Because Louisville just beat Miami.
You might.
Louisville just beat Miami.
Yeah. You might have to. They got one loss. With that win over Miami, which Notre Dame doesn't have. I don't know, Eric. I'm with you. I don't know.
That's the thing. I mean, if everybody played comparative schedules, even within conferences, these conferences are so big, the schedules look so different from one team to another, the difficulty of the schedules.
Yeah.
Here's a example for you, Mike, where you get locked in on records. There are people that are upset that BYU isn't higher in my poll, the BYU people, fans.
Yeah.
And I love BYU, but here's the thing. The Notre Dame has just one top 25 win. That's USC. How many top 25 wins does the Big 12 have outside of its conference? Zero. 12 of those teams, they're 0-3 collectively against teams in the current top 25. You put all 12 of them together, they have zero. So how do you evaluate those teams that are undefeated and have one loss when they're just playing each other?
I don't know. That's kind of my point here. It's very hard. I don't know.
Yeah, it's not as cut and dried as people think. I mean, you sit down and you make these polls. I mean, it's easy to say, you got them too high. Well, then tell me who needs to be. Well, at least you had an answer. You said, I think Miami should be ranked ahead of Notre Dame.
The answer is that head-to-head. And I'm not even I hate to like create this shitstorm when I'm like, I'm not even saying that. I'm just saying that, like, if you're definitively like, I think Notre Dame should be ranked above Miami. And like you said, everyone in the AP poll had Notre Dame over Miami, all 66.
I will have to look at that, but certainly them being 8 spots down, you would think the vast majority had them. But here's That's one tricky. Where head-to-head would be harder. Let's say Illinois only had one loss right now, and their loss was 63-10 to Indiana, and Indiana ends up losing a game. Let's say they lose to Penn State on the road. Should Illinois ever be ahead of Indiana when they lost 63-10? That's a different scenario. 27-24 when you have a redshirt freshman quarterback and a new defensive coordinator, and this team has shown amazing improvement since that game.
Yeah. No, that's like the context versus just the black and white head to head. Like, how does you have
we want our arguments to fit in a tweet, but sometimes
this is why I love it. All right, I kind of teased this at the beginning of the show. This whole oh man, you know how much this just drives me up the wall crazy. Rip Jules said, "Win 4 more and Notre Dame is an LOCK." I think they're in, but let's look at this. Okay, Eric. I spent like 15 minutes doing this, and I needed like 30 more minutes to do this, to look at here all of the teams that are in play still. In my math, there was about 20 teams for 12 spots, and I might have been missing a couple. It was like 350, and I was like, I don't have more time to research this. Virtually a lock. I mean, these teams can lose and they're still good. Ohio State, Indiana, A&M. Is there anyone I'm missing that's like, man, this team really, I mean, these teams that I feel like lose out to not make it. Anyone I'm missing here, or do you think this is good, Eric?
If they just lost one game, I think there's no way they're out of the field, any of them, even if they lose to a crummy team.
Yeah, they could like lose and then still lose a conference championship game, because as we saw last year, Eric, the committee did not hurt teams. We'll see if they change it this year, but SMU lost, like they didn't hurt.
But I will say this, and I read a behind the scenes thing. SMU had to make up some ground in that game. Had they got blown out, and they were getting blown out at halftime, they would not have been in the field. So them coming back mattered in that game.
So
it competitive.
So virtually a lock. You got Ohio State, really their biggest test in the regular season at Michigan. They have to beat Michigan this year, right? I think they will. I think they're going to beat the doors off of Michigan.
Purdue almost beat Michigan.
Yeah, Michigan. Indiana's biggest test left in the regular season at Penn State. I went through these schedules. I mean, it's college football. Anything can happen. But A&M, though, at Missouri, at Texas, that's pretty tough. But still, you would think that A&M is virtually a lock to make it. And then in the next category, I have in very good shape. You have a one-loss Alabama, their remaining tests, Oklahoma and LSU both at home, Georgia, Texas home, Georgia Tech home, 7-1 Oregon, USC home, Washington road, at Iowa could be tricky for Oregon. I mean, this is just so difficult.
At Washington could be tricky for Oregon.
Yeah.
USC at home could be tricky for Oregon. Oregon is a team that I like a lot, and I'm not sure that I'm seeing smoke and mirrors and not because the Penn State game at the time seemed such an epic win, and now you're like, they only beat Penn State in overtime. What's wrong with them?
Yeah, for sure.
But they have games that will help define them down the stretch.
Yeah, those three that I just mentioned. What I really wanted to do was predict each game, and then how does that bracket look? I just didn't have time. Maybe we'll do it at a later show.
That sounds like harder than changing diapers, Mike.
Yeah, I've had to do a few of those this week, or actually in the past week. And then Ole Miss, home Florida at Mississippi State. Florida is a tough team, even though their coach got fired. Like they're still a tough out. So that's 7 spots right there between
Mississippi State. The Egg Bowl is another tougher than it seems.
Yeah,
they have been in every game. Mississippi State, just about. I mean, they took Texas to the wire. They just beat Arkansas. They beat Arizona State. They've been close in a lot of teams to beating them. That'll be a really interesting game.
So that is all undefeated or one-loss teams. Look, chaos can happen, but none of those teams play each other in the regular season remaining. So you're looking at one or we'll see. There could be upsets. That's the thing that's like when you say lock, you're saying that you're assuming chaos. Like chaos happens in college football, but if chalk happens, that's 7 teams right there that are basically just locks to get in. They are all 7 of those teams are locks to get in. Plus, there's a group of 5 teams. That's 8. That's 8 of 12 just gone right there.
And the ACC champs, so that's 9 of 12.
Which we have not got to. So yes, thank you. That's 9 of 12. Now here is the win and probably in. This is tricky because I have BYU, who has a good win over Utah, but otherwise, which like your point, Eric, what does a good win mean?
And Texas Tech smashed Utah when they had their quarterback.
So BYU has at Texas Tech, obviously. So you would assume the winner of BYU Texas Tech is in. But if the committee likes the Big 12 by whatever metrics they use, what if Texas Tech wins and BYU has 1 loss? Do they like BYU? Do they like the Big 12? I don't know. So, but winning they're in, BYU and Texas Tech, obviously the Big 12 champ is going to get in, right? So that makes 10.
Yep.
Eric. So Notre Dame, marquee win USC, and then remaining Navy at home and Pitt on the road as tests. Oklahoma just got a good win over Tennessee, knocking the Vols out of the field. Now they have 3 losses. Oklahoma at Bama, home versus Mizzou, home versus LSU. If OU wins out, there's no way in hell they're not getting in. Now,
Correct.
What does that mean for a 2-loss Bama, who would not play in the SEC title game? It would be it would be A&M Georgia. Now, is Alabama out? Like, how does the committee weigh a 2-loss Bama with a 2-loss Notre Dame? I mean, this is like this is getting very tricky. This is why I really wanted to go through this, Eric, because this gets dicey in some certain scenarios. Virginia, number 12 Virginia has wins over FSU and Louisville, and they have at Duke, which is a one-loss team.
In
Virginia in the ACC, are they the ACC champs? What about Texas? If Texas beats Georgia and A&M, they're in, and potentially Georgia and A&M could lose those two games and still be in, right? I mean,
Texas beating Georgia would make Georgia's case worse. If Texas and Alabama are both in the field, then that's better for Georgia. And some of it might have to do with how they do against Georgia Tech at that point.
Yeah.
But you're right. I mean, there are scenarios where this gets dicier for Notre Dame.
That's what I'm saying. That's all I needed to hear. Like I haven't been really scrolling the chat, but I don't know how you can listen to this and be like, shit, Mike, or like, shit, Mike, you're totally wrong. This absolutely could get, and Eric, I'm not even done. You do still have Louisville.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think, especially if the committee doesn't have Louisville over Notre Dame on Tuesday, I don't think Louisville will jump Notre Dame.
Yeah.
I think if Louisville gets in the championship game against Virginia, then I think Louisville or Virginia will get in. Remember, Virginia's loss is a non-conference loss because they played them non-conference to NC State. They lost to a team that Notre Dame beat by almost 40 points or 30. Yeah, 39 points.
36-7.
36-7, 29 points. My math is awful. But they beat them by a lot. They beat our boss's alma mater by a lot.
But Louisville's got that one over Miami that Notre Dame doesn't have. So it's like that triangle.
Yeah, there is some triangle there, but there's going to be some other comparative scores.
Yeah.
Notre Dame struggled with Boston College. Louisville beat them by less. So there are some comparisons there. But if Notre Dame is ahead of Louisville, it's going to be hard for Louisville to jump over Notre Dame unless Notre Dame beats Syracuse on a last-second field goal and Stanford on a last-second field goal, and Louisville is mauling teams down the stretch and gets in the ACC title game and then takes revenge on Virginia, in which case then Virginia would be out.
Yeah.
Virginia's one loss from being out of this.
Yeah.
They just don't have much resistance left on their schedule.
Yeah. So like win and probably in, there's like the aspect of conference championship to consider. It's not just at large, obviously. So like, Virginia wins out there and Louisville wins out there, and because you're considering you're winning the ACC title.
Yeah.
But I'm not. The thing about the ACC, someone said earlier, it's a mess. It is, because it's like, okay, you have 4 teams vying still: Georgia Tech, Louisville, Miami, which I think chaos can get them into the title game.
Miami's got 2 losses. They're cooked, I think.
So it would have to be, I wrote this down in my notes. Chaos gets them into it, but you still have to consider, and then you got to consider Duke and Pitt. They're still in the mix, I think. So the ACC is a mess.
Pitt's a one-loss ACC team.
I think Duke is.
And they play Miami and Georgia Tech. So they kind of control a lot of their destiny in terms of getting in. The one-loss teams in the ACC, Virginia's the only one undefeated with that weird NC State thing.
So let me interrupt
Georgia
you as you
Tech,
answer this.
Pittsburgh, Louisville, SMU, Duke are the one loss. That's too many teams for Miami to jump over with 2 losses.
Okay.
They're out.
So you think they're not in the mix for a playoff? You think they're done?
I think they're done as far as the ACC championship game, and I think it's a real stretch to get from, unless the committee sees them
like Andy Staples does.
Yeah,
right?
If the committee sees them as the number 9 team in the country and AP sees them as 18, then Andy will have a real good case. And again, I think Andy Staples is awesome. But I disagree with him on that point.
Okay. So how many ACC teams do you see getting in? Is it 2? Do you think they get in 2? Just 1?
I think 2 can get in and Notre Dame be okay. I think if the numbers line up this way, Mike, 4 for the SEC, 3 for the Big Ten, 2 for the ACC, and 1 for the Big 12. If those numbers change somewhere and you add a team, you got to lose an ACC team. Like if the Big 12 got 2, then you can only have 1 ACC. Georgia Tech losing made that a possibility, but Louisville, I don't know that, again, I don't know what the committee's going to think of Louisville, what they're going to make out of that.
What the committee thinks about this ACC is, I mean, they're a shit show. I'm sorry for saying shit a lot, but there's a lot of shit, and this is a shit show. Like, it just is a little chaotic. And then, okay, Tin Rand, thank you for the 5 as always. I'm in sports morning for my Jays. At least we went up 2 spots. Just keep winning, and college football will probably do its college football thing. Craziest will happen. I mean, we're talking about that. 10 Rand. Really appreciate the 5 as usual. And then, okay, also on the win and probably in, I talked about Texas, Louisville, Georgia Tech. And then,
Georgia Tech would have to beat Georgia at this point to make a case.
Which they're on the road, so they would absolutely be in. And then, like I said, you got to consider the group of 5 champ, which looks like it's Memphis. Also in the mix, Vanderbilt, some chaos have to happen. They got Tennessee left, which could be a quality win. Miami doesn't have anyone really strong left to make a case. If Pitt beats Notre Dame,
if they beat Notre Dame, Miami, and Georgia Tech, they probably get into the ACC championship game and have a chance to get in as the ACC champ. Yeah. They have only 1 loss in the ACC, and that's a close one, I think, to Louisville.
2-loss USC. Eric, 2-loss USC has Oregon. If they beat Oregon on the road and they went out, what the hell do you do with USC? You would have to put them in, right?
I don't know. I don't know that they have enough at that point, because they've lost to Illinois, and they have a recent head-to-head with Notre Dame, a Notre Dame team that still looks like they could beat USC, and they just barely eked out Nebraska. I don't know that they have enough gas. I don't know that Oregon gets them
that much enough credibility. Okay.
Yeah. Well, it'll get them higher, but I don't know.
What about a 2-loss Michigan? It's kind of the same. If they beat Ohio State, and went out, you don't think so?
They would have to get in the Big Ten championship game. I just don't think there's enough. I don't think the Ohio State win would be enough to lift them, given everything. Getting beat by USC by 18 points, getting beat by Oklahoma. I mean, those are difficult teams to jump over.
Okay. This is at the end here. This is where I started to run out of time. I didn't really get to research Vandy, USC, and Michigan as much. But
just keep in mind, if we're just saying that committee's doing everything the AP is doing, this is easier to figure out. The thing is, it's never the same. There's always teams that they look at differently.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to make Tuesday so interesting, and why I'm so happy I'm on that show.
I can't wait.
Yeah, because it's going to be very different, and we're going to go, whoa. And they may love Notre Dame more, or they may say, you know what, you guys have some work to do. You better beat Syracuse by 100.
Yeah, the AP poll is kind of like, I haven't really thought about this metaphor, but it's kind of like we're looking at recruiting rankings as the be all end all. Like, the AP poll is a really good baseline to let you know. The AP poll is a really good baseline to let you know what the CFP might be. Just like a recruiting ranking is a pretty good idea to let you know what a recruit might be in college, but it's not perfect. Like, the AP poll has people who say, my process is, maybe what you don't think it is. But they ranked Florida above USF, a couple, like that one was crazy at the time. Like, the AP poll is imperfect, but I think it's a good look at the CFP. But the CFP is just the AP poll is 66 people, and it's an average, right? The CFP is people in a room, and they're saying, we are slotting these very specifically. This is not a ballot. This is very specific. So it could be a good bit different, Eric, but
their process is different.
But the AP poll does usually look it looks pretty similar.
There usually are pretty similar. There are usually a few teams where you go, whoa. But one point I want to make, there is one huge difference this year in how the committee's doing things. Their strength of schedule metric is different. In the past, a good loss didn't really help you that much. Now it does. They want to encourage teams to continue to play difficult non-conference teams. And so they are going to reward you for a good loss, and they're going to reward you a lot for beating a good team. They're also going to penalize you for losing to a bad team. Northern Illinois would have hurt Notre Dame a little bit more had this been in effect last year, for example. And then just beating the snot out of crummy teams isn't going to impress them. Those aren't style points. If you're doing it against a bad team, and that's a misnomer or a misconception that people have about how things work. Those, beating Syracuse by 100 doesn't mean as much as maybe beating Pitt by 17 would, a good Pittsburgh team.
Yeah. After Notre Dame lost to, was it maybe after the A&M loss, or was it after the Purdue game on the round tables? Me, you, Sobel, and Horka, we all gave our percentages that Notre Dame would win out and make the playoff. Do you remember that?
I do.
Me and you were more like 50 to 60%. Those two guys were like 10%. How you feeling now, Eric? What is the Eric Hansen FPI projector
about their chances of being 10-2
and getting in?
Yeah, and getting in both.
Yeah,
I would say going 10-2. I would say I would put that at 90%.
Okay.
And at getting in, I would put it at 80%.
Yeah, I was thinking 80, 85% that they get.
Yeah, because you pointed out some scenarios that would be bad for Notre Dame. I did a story in last week's Behind the Ballot where I talked about games that would help Notre Dame the most. And one of them happened. Vanderbilt losing to Texas actually needed to happen. Texas has two really challenging games. I don't think they win both of those.
Yeah.
If they split, they should be happy, but they're not going to. I don't think they'll beat Georgia and Texas A&M both.
Yeah, look at Mike Singer, usually the glass half full guy, just going full on. Here's what we have to worry about. But I will say, if this whole chat was full of people saying we don't stand a chance, we're not getting in, guys. We're not only not a lock. We don't got to. We were at 30%. Then I'd probably be doing the opposite. I'd be sitting on here and saying, here is all of the things I think is going to happen for Notre Dame to get in. I'm pushing back on the 100% a lock thing, and I have all year. Like, it's just not. But I like I said, I'm at like 80, 85% that it will. So I guess that's a lot of babbling by me, Eric, to just still be in line with, it's probably still going to happen for Notre Dame.
Again, some of the things that the committee looks at that people don't understand or don't know about, and I'm writing about that in today's Behind the Ballot, is what they really look at. And one of them is, let's say you play Arkansas, who's the number 8 offense in the country, and you hold them to this many yards below their average and this many points below their average. That matters to the committee. How you do against teams, even like in Arkansas, where you say, well, they're irrelevant. No, they're not. Especially when there's other teams that play Arkansas that are being under consideration in the pool, and you can compare those to what Notre Dame did. The best thing about Notre Dame being an independent is they play all these teams in other conferences, and it gives you a more comparative picture of college football. And that's why one of the reasons Notre Dame should always be a football independent. It helps bring these data points together a little bit more.
It's a really good, it's a great point. Like, as I was being my own little committee person this afternoon, looking through all this, it's like Notre Dame's kind of in its own little world. Because you have the Big 12's in its own world. The ACC, we spent some time talking about. The SEC, the Big 10, right? They're all resumes are so different based on their conference. And then Notre Dame is like interconnected to all of them, but also very it's fascinating, and I love it. I think this is awesome. I think Notre Dame is, it's like they're their own little conference. Just to your point, I love it. I think that the independence is awesome. Two quick things, Eric. We're going way over here. I just am too fired up. Chief Brody says you guys are high. I'm 50-50. When you start filling in the teams, it gets full quick. Woo Riders DG says the field will clear its way out. Notre Dame just needs to win out, and they are in. I get Chief Brody's thing. Obviously, I just went through that.
Yeah.
When you do start filling in the teams, it gets full quick. But you have to consider that this is college football. Like, did we think Georgia Tech just lost it was NC State, right?
Right.
Who thought that was going to happen? And Georgia Tech was at home? No, NC State stormed the field, right? I think NC State was at home. I didn't watch the game.
Maybe they stormed Georgia Tech's field.
But like in college football, you kind of have to expect the unexpected.
And there are a lot of teams playing each other that are going to knock each other off. But again, Notre Dame doesn't have that marquee game. They got to hope that Pittsburgh, after they lose to Notre Dame, goes and wins those next 2 games, because that'll make that Pitt win look pretty good. Texas Tech jumped Notre Dame this week, and you can't really complain about that. I guess you can, but
yeah,
that's going to maybe happen because teams have big games. So Chief, I think he made some sense there, but just knowing how these games might play out and that there are going to be some upsets outside of chalk, I do think Notre Dame, I feel very good about their chances of making it. And I do think that it's going to be a team where Boston College is going to turn out to be the outlier, the mulligan, and they are going to look like an improved team in this November run. But we'll see. You know, Navy's #1 rushing defense in the country. And guess what? Notre Dame is suddenly number 12 in rush defense.
Huh. How about that? What about pass defense?
They are 31. They've improved from 103 after the Purdue game to 31.
To your point earlier that you're talking about the different schedules and how it's really difficult to, like, when you're just a Big 12 and you're playing against each other, that 12 and 31, like the national rankings for stats with not considering the different strength of the schedules is an imperfect thing, but I like it.
That's why I do kind of the stat matrix every Sunday, and behind the ballot, you can see what Notre Dame and all their opponents are in all these different statistical categories. So you can kind of see that Notre Dame has had a disproportionate number of really strong pass offenses against them this year. So that 31 number really is pretty incredible. Where maybe the rush defense isn't as impressive is they haven't faced a ton of good running teams. They did in USC and they shut them down.
Yeah.
But after they play, Boston College is abysmal. After they play Navy, Syracuse and Stanford can't run the ball, and Pittsburgh's well below average at running the ball. So maybe that number isn't as impressive, but the fact you have to play Navy, it balances out. But yeah, you can look at that. The flip side of it is CJ Carr hasn't faced a lot of really difficult pass defenses. And so when he gets in the playoff, they're going to be better pass defenses. He'll see.
All right. I am running late to dinner. So I, needed to end the show 18 minutes ago. But
what's for dinner?
I don't know. I think it's pizza, but going to be with family for a bit. So, but yeah, I got too fired up. So I will eat the apologies because this was a lot of fun. Hit the thumbs up. I know you enjoyed the show. If you're listening to this as a podcast, leave a 5-star review wherever you listen to your podcast. Thank you all. Next live show, the Hanson and James channel, link in the description of this video, 7 p.m. Eastern time. Make sure you guys join them tomorrow. Thank you all for watching, and we'll catch you next time.